What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Coming at you on a Thursday night, a little bit later time than normal. We usually go live at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It's 8 p.m. We have a ball game underway here. The Steelers are beating the Browns 3-0. A little bit of a quiet game. Russell Wilson, though, he's 10 for 10 passing, 128 yards. A little bit of action on Jaylen Warren. Najee Harris not looking so great. Calvin Austin with a big 46-yard catch. And we'll see if the Browns can muster a comeback here. But we're going to hang out for the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to go over the player practice news from today. And any questions you guys have for me in the comments, I will get to shortly. I'm just going to read the news real quick, and then we'll get to your guys' questions. So happy Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys. Looks like Van Jefferson is questionable with this quad injury. He's questionable to return tonight. We'll see if he does return. We have some news here on Brock Purdy. Right shoulder, he will play week 12. But just note that maybe he's not 100%. Alexander Mattison and Zamir White both don't practice again today. So if you've watched our show on Tuesday or Wednesday, you guys know we've been watching this Raiders running back situation very closely. As of today, it looks like Amir Abdullah is the starting running back for the Raiders in week number 12. So if you guys need somebody in a desperation RB2 spot, Amir Abdullah can be the guy for you. Devonta Smith for the Eagles does not practice again Thursday. So that's a big one. I think he's on track to being doubtful. If I have Devonta Smith, I'm expecting him not to play in this one. Back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday, DNPs. Start your A.J. Brown, start your Dallas Goedert. If you have Goddard, you're feeling pretty good about this one. Looks like Devonta Smith's not going to be playing. Calvin Ridley had an illness today. It says he fully practiced. He didn't practice yesterday. Maybe he's just feeling a little under the weather, but he's on track to play week 12. Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs, limited in practice again on Thursday. Brandon Cooks, limited in practice today. We're not using Brandon Cooks. I guess if you go back to Isaiah Pacheco, I do think Pacheco's going to play in week 12 here. I don't feel great about him being a running back 2. I feel better about him being like an 8 to 9 point flex play. So if you need somebody, I'm okay with Isaiah Pacheco. Otherwise, I kind of want to see what he looks like in his first game back before I trust him, even though it's a great matchup against Carolina. Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson both don't practice Thursday. Bit of a concern here. I fully expect Jake Ferguson to not play in week 12 here, but with CeeDee Lamb missing Thursday, to me, Thursday is a big deal. I'm going to put CeeDee Lamb on the doubtful track here. If he does practice tomorrow, I'll feel better about it. But if he misses tomorrow, he's not playing in week 12. Hayden Hurst, not listed on the injury report for the Chargers. I still think you want to play Will Dissly if you have him. Ladd McConkey, though, for the Chargers, does not practice Thursday. So that's something to monitor. Sam Laporta, more tight end news here, fully practices on Thursday. He was practicing yesterday. I expect Sam Laporta to play in week 12. DeAndre Swift for the Bears did not practice yesterday. He was limited today. He's on track to play. Adam Thielen limited today. He should be picked up in waiver wire deeper leagues. He's going to be probably the number 1 target for Bryce Young this week. It looks like Cooper Rush is going to continue starting for the Cowboys. And then Addison not on the injury report for week 12. I think I'm pretty much caught up on injury news for week 12. So good evening to JSC. Can I trust Justin Herbert in week 12 with Josh Allen on bye in week 12? I think you can. Justin Herbert, to me, he played an awesome first half against Cincinnati on, was it Sunday Night Football the other night? I personally think Justin Herbert's like a top 6 quarterback this weekend. I'm pulling up my weekly rankings to see where I have him. I think I have him pretty high. You're playing against the Baltimore Ravens, and the Ravens defense has been very bad against quarterbacks and opponent wide receivers. So I have Herbert as my QB3. So I am totally trusting Herbert this weekend. I think he's getting probably 2 passing touchdowns. He'll get 30 rushing yards. He's going to add some with his legs. I think Herbert is one of the safer QB plays this weekend on Monday Night Football against the Ravens. So I fully endorse Justin Herbert this weekend. Flex. Good evening to Christian, by the way. Juwan Jennings or J.K. Dobbins? So I like the safety net of J.K. Dobbins. He's been very steady. I know he's going to get the ball 12 to 15 times. He gets goal line opportunities. I feel very good about J.K. Dobbins on my team. But right now, I think Jauan Jennings, let me see where I have him ranked. I have him ranked very highly this week. I have him ahead of Deebo Samuel this week. I have Jauan Jennings up to wide receiver 18. If we're looking at running backs this weekend, I have J.K. Dobbins RB20, which I feel good about, but that Ravens defense is very, very good against opponent running backs. I'm going to lean Jauan Jennings here against J.K. Dobbins. It's a bit of a preference call, but I think Jauan Jennings, as of right now, man, he looks like the number one wide receiver for Brock Purdy over Deebo Samuel. We'll see. George Kittle is expected to return, but I think Jauan Jennings is locked into 8 to 10 targets per game right now. So we'll go Jauan Jennings here. I do want to hit refresh on some of my feeds and see if any other new player news is ready to roll. This Steelers game tonight, it's looking pretty slow. 3-0, about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Nick Chubb, 6 for 22 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 for 39. I was pretty nervous about the Cleveland Browns coming into this one. But so far, they're kind of holding their own. They just need to pick up a few big chunk plays. It looks like they're kind of moving the ball fine. And then the Steelers right now, George Pickens looks pretty good, 3 for 41. Hopefully we get a touchdown here before the end of the halftime. But if you guys do have more questions, please keep them coming. I'm going to look for some more player news and updates. If you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, I did update my weekly rankings. My rest of season rankings got updated today as well. So if you guys are looking for some content here, go check out the Fantasy Fellowship. Otherwise, let's see what JSC says here. Do you think Jahmyr Gibbs will finish the year as a top 5 RB fantasy and real life? So, all year long, I've been ranking Jahmyr Gibbs as a running back 1 in my start-sit charts. He's one of the few guys that I think I can say about, there's not too many guys that I can say I'm gonna leave them as my RB1 every week, and he's qualified. Right now, he's the RB6 on the year. Even though David Montgomery's got 10 rushing touchdowns, Jahmyr Gibbs still has 8 rushing touchdowns. He's got 1 receiving touchdowns. It's funny, like Jahmyr Gibbs last year, he caught 52 passes. Jahmyr Gibbs has only caught 23 passes this season. He's not actually being fully utilized as a receiving weapon, which is what he came in to the league as. Like, he was supposed to be this dual threat all-around guy, but he just keeps getting rushing touchdowns, only 1 catching touchdown on the year. I think his profile right now remains very, very strong. Like, he's averaging 6 yards per carry. He's at about 800 yards rushing. He's getting a ton of volume right now for a nice running back 1, and we just need him to get more catches, man. He's only had a couple games where he's had more than 4, 5, or 6 receptions. So hopefully those PPR numbers keep coming. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, as it stands right now, he's RB6 on the year. I think he will finish as a top 5 fantasy running back. He's only 3 points behind Bijan, 3 points behind Breece Hall, who's RB5 right now. So I do think, rest of season, I want Jahmyr Gibbs on my teams. He's a top 5 running back. And David Montgomery remains like a top 10, top 12 running back. So I feel very good about both Lions running backs right now. But I'm going to look for some more player news here. I don't think we have too much. I'm very concerned about this Raiders running back situation. Zamir White and Alexander Mattison both not practicing today. If I had to call it today, I think both guys are doubtful. I think they're going to go into the weekend with Amir Abdullah and Dylan Lobby as their top 2 running backs. If I have to start a running back 2, it's going to be Amir Abdullah. I'm not messing with Lobby. I think Lobby, could be added in a deeper league. But if I'm trusting one guy as my RB2 this weekend, it's going to be Amir Abdullah. This is one of my favorite questions there, JSC. And if you guys have been watching me since, July, June, August, whatever, you've known, like, JSN was one of our dudes. And I thought there was a chance that he could be the highest scoring Seattle Seahawk wide receiver this year. In terms of targets, like wide receiver targets, he ranked 7th in the league. In terms of wide receiver receptions, he ranks 7th. In terms of yards, he's going to be a little bit lower, but it's still pretty good at wide receiver 12. And then the only knock on JSN is he doesn't catch touchdowns. So I think it's completely sustainable. We've seen him play very well when DK Metcalf has been off the field. But last week when DK Metcalf returned, you still see JSN get 10 catches for 110 yards and 11 targets. So I personally, I think this is very sustainable. The question is, can he catch touchdowns? And, with 6 games left in the year, I think he probably catches 2 or 3 touchdowns at least. He's probably not a wide receiver 1, being a top 10 or top 12 wide receiver, but I think rest of the way, we're looking at a guy that is a must start wide receiver 2. I mean, in my rankings, I have DK Metcalf just 1 spot ahead of him. So I view both guys very, very highly. Tyler Lockett just has not been able to be a guy that we trust in fantasy lineups this year. He's not really producing in terms of anything right now. So JSN is the hot hand. And honestly, I continue to expect him to be the lead target, the lead receiver guy. So I love JSN. He's currently your wide receiver 12 in fantasy football right now. So we love Jackson Smith-Njigba. Let me see if there's any more news and updates for you guys today. George Kittle limited today. He's on the record saying he will play today. Tyreek Hill listed as a full participant. No worries on Tyreek Hill. Justice Hill popped up with a concussion, limited in Thursday's practice. We'll have to watch for that one. Maybe we see more Keaton Mitchell on Monday Night Football. Bo Nix, legit fantasy QB1 thoughts. I think at this point you have to buy into Bo Nix. I have Bo Nix ranked as my QB7. It looks like Nick Chubb scored a rushing touchdown, so the Cleveland Browns are in the lead 7-3. But being back to Bo Nix, it's very hard to ignore what Bo Nix has been able to do. He's running the ball a ton. He's got almost 300 yards rushing for rushing touchdowns, and he's starting to stack up the passing touchdowns. He's had passing outcomes of 307 yards, 215, 223, 284. So his numbers are very respectable in the passing game. And he's had 9 passing touchdowns in the last 4 games. So he's averaging almost 2.25 touchdowns per game. I think Bo Nix he's not like a top 5 QB at this point. There's a lot of there's maybe 6 or 8 guys that I'd rather have rest of the season over Bo Nix, but I do think right now you feel good about Bo Nix. They're playing the Raiders this weekend, which makes me feel very good about what he can do. And I'm just looking at my ROS rankings for Bo Nix here. I have Bo Nix at QB 10. So only 9 QBs ahead of Bo Nix in my rest of season rankings. If you have Bo Nix in a dynasty fantasy football league right now, you're feeling very good. He's the highest ranking rookie quarterback that I have. Well, I have Jaden Daniels actually 2 spots ahead, but Bo Nix is legit, man. QB1 for fantasy football as of right now. Yes, it's happening with Bo Nix. But I will say, if you guys don't have any more questions, I will get out of here for the night. I'm going to put out a practice review video tomorrow. I might put out a Saturday morning view on the player props. And then Sunday morning, we'll be going live 10:30 a.m. Central Time. If you guys want to hang out Sunday morning, get your questions answered, we'll go live and hook you guys up with the actives and actives. But how do you currently view Xavier Worthy? Okay. So I really do like Xavier Worthy. I do not like how the Chiefs have been trying to use him so far this year, but there has been a little bit of evidence showing that there could be some change coming forward for Xavier Worthy's role. Now, since Rashee Rice got hurt, and I believe, I don't know if it was the Charger game or the Saints game, but from week 7, Xavier Worthy has had 8, 2, 4, and 5 targets. He's caught, 3, 4, 0, 1, 4 catches in the last few games. He's got 2 receiving touchdowns. He looks like a guy that if he doesn't score a touchdown, you're feeling pretty bad. In games where he doesn't score touchdowns, his fantasy totals have been 4.2, 5, 5.4, -1 and 2.1. So the floor is like rock bottom bad. And the ceiling here so far, week 1, he got 20.8, 16, 11, 13, 16. He's a very frustrating player for fantasy football right now. But I do, that Buffalo game, for one quarter, Worthy looked like he could be a guy that could be a league winner. And then the rest of the game, they just chose not to throw the ball to him. So I'm a little bit frustrated with his role. I think for now, he's kind of like a fringe wide receiver 3 flex play. If I have a bye week, I'm feeling good about putting Xavier Worthy in. If I have, and I've got Worthy ranked as like my wide receiver 48 rest of season. I don't feel good about him every week in my lineup. He is way too fragile. He's either going to get me 4 points or he's going to get me 16 points. I prefer someone that I can trust a little bit more, for 10, 12 points. I mean, I'd rather play Demario Douglas over Worthy, and that's kind of where I have him ranked right now. So I like Worthy. I think he can grow, but right now he's touchdown or nothing. That's a good question there, JSC. For redraft, I'm Team Andrews. For the future, I'm Team Likely. I think when Likely plays, he takes a lot of Mark Andrews' plate, and I don't think we can feel good about Mark Andrews as long as Isaiah Likely is healthy. You also have to deal with Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman earning targets and things like that. So when Andrews was playing at his best, Isaiah Likely was out of the lineup, and now that he's back, we're going to see a little bit of a pulled back scale for Mark Andrews. They're going to run a little bit more 2 tight end stuff. I do have Isaiah Likely ranked pretty highly in my rest of season rankings. I do have Mark Andrews as like a fringe tight end 1. I have him at tight end 11, and I do have Likely at tight end 26. So for now, you're going to continue to start Mark Andrews if you have him, unless you can pick up a Will Dissly, a Jonnu Smith type. But for now, I still like Mark Andrews, but he does lose value as long as Isaiah Likely's healthy. Next Gen, good evening. Would you trade Najee Harris and Tank Dell for Rachaad White? I don't think so. I think, in Next Gen, if you've watched my show at all in the last year or two, I'm not the biggest Najee Harris fan, but he has been pretty dependable this year. He's getting targets. He's getting rushing opportunities. There's some rushing touchdowns there. Najee's been a very, very quality RB2, and that's what kind of Rachaad White is right now. But if I can hold on to Najee and Tank Dell, I'm going to do it. I think Tank Dell is a solid wide receiver 3 flex. I'd rather start Tank Dell over, Xavier Worthy. Maybe he's in the same tier for me as like a Jameson Williams, a guy that can have a big player or 2 per game. So I'm going to keep Najee and Tank Dell. I don't view Rachaad White as like a huge upgrade over Najee Harris. So I think I'm going to hold there. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. I want to thank you for hanging out with me Thursday night. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely like the video, subscribe if you are new. We're going to be going live Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. If you guys want to hang out and get your questions in before the show, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll put out a practice report video tomorrow for you. And then one last question in here. How about this week? Which 2 should I start? Swift, White, or Dobbins? I'm kind of nervous about DeAndre Swift. He missed practice yesterday with a groin injury. He was limited today. We did see the new offensive coordinator give a bigger role to Rashawn Johnson. So if I'm ranking these guys, I'm going to put J.K. Dobbins, Rachaad White, and then probably Swift number 3. I do like Rachaad White quite a bit. It looks like if you have White here and you can get Najee and Tank Dell, I think I'm going to do that deal there Next Gen. But I'm going to rank them as J.K. Dobbins, Rachaad White, DeAndre Swift for this weekend. And if you want to check out the fantasyfellowship.com, we do have memberships available for my weekly rankings, my rest of season rankings, and so much more. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. We're going to get back to the Thursday night football game and enjoy the night. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Peace. Got me feeling icy.